Sorry.
Charlie, we're supposed to troll the audience at the start of this, not each other.
Don't troll our feelings.
A wicked troll. I came up with a wicked troll last week. None of you guys started one.
A wicked troll?
Yeah,
Like the ones that go on the end of pencils.
I started it with
troll in the dungeon.
The stream started with me saying I reckon I should do kindergarten again. I think I'd absolutely smash it.
Oh yeah,
that one was so good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. That was pretty good. All right, so hello everybody. Welcome to both streams. For those of you who don't know, if you're new to this is basically a glorified podcast recording. So congratulations for making.
It's not glorified. It is just that.
Well, we do have this. Yeah. Okay. It is just that. This is a podcast recording. So if you're gonna donate, make sure you donate to my stream. No, I'm just joking. If you're gonna donate, just know we might not be able to answer you or say thank you, but it touches our hearts. And usually at the end, though, we've got a point where we take some questions and whatever else. Anything you want to add, Corey?
No, that mostly covers it. We'd have nothing that we're not going to talk about in the actual episode. So yeah,
okay,
that was fine.
So who should do the intro this time?
Did you do it last time or did I?
Charlie did it last time.
Oh, so you should do it this time.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tapcaf Transmissions, the only Star Wars podcast in existence. Today we are discussing The Mandalorian, Chapter 14. So full spoilers for that, of course. And despite your guys' angry emails and despite your requests, we have decided to bring back Charlie for another episode. Hello, Charlie.
Back by unpopular demand.
I haven't actually looked at the emails for last episode, so I'm going to see how.
Yeah, just look. I mean, never have we gotten so much hate for one guest after just one episode.
It's no change. No. You're right. It's happened in every single appearance I've had.
Well, the two episodes that you were on before with the game streams, those are probably the most hated episodes of Tapcaf Transmissions ever. And jury's still on.
What about that one where I had like diarrhea at the end? Remember that one? I had like food poisoning. I wasn't open about the fact that it was diarrhea, but that's what was going on.
This is the first time that detail has been brought to light. But
what do you think food poisoning means? Like,
I forgot it was food poisoning, but there was
a migraine episode as well.
I think I remember that one.
Yeah,
you've really been dragging the podcast down.
Yeah, I have.
Hello, Charlie. Usually podcast hosts have to say hi to each other because to listeners, we haven't been sitting in the same room talking for the last 25 minutes. So I've been very rude with the constructed reality that we all live in podcast world. I'm sorry.
On that note, it was like your worst performing channel was the Wolfen 2 video that had me in it. And it was so bad that like a couple of days later, you DM'd me saying like, it's actively hurt my channel, dude.
So did I tell you guys Kelsey, my wife, for those of you who are not up on the EckhartsLadder personal channel, she got me an advent calendar of beer. So
you're 4 in right now, eh? How's that going for you?
Well, it's been good so far, but today's is a mocha oatmeal stout, and I'm just opening it, and it's
I saw some positive reviews for the first two, and
the first 4 have been good. This one, or the first 3 have been good. This one's darker than the devil's asshole. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
I'm just pouring it now. I just want to get my little live reaction here. Let's just see.
This is a lot less effective without video.
Not that bad. Not that bad.
No, it sounds pretty bad.
It wasn't that bad at first. It's got like a coffee taste. It's not that bad. All right. Sorry, guys. Sorry to derail the podcast with this. I mean,
I don't think derailed anything more than we have our first episode with Star Wars Explained, other frequent guest, where we were all drunk as shit for the entire podcast.
Oh, I think you meant the one where you had a literal power outage.
Well, that was that one as well.
Yeah.
Because...
Or I did, and then I had to call in.
Was that? No, because there was one where we couldn't stream anymore with Alex, and then people just came in and listened to the Discord channel.
Oh, yeah.
But there was another one. Or was that also... We've had some bad episodes, is basically what we're talking about. But this is almost episode 50, too. So...
Wow.
That's a lot of podcasts. Because we weren't always doing this weekly.
No, yeah, at the very beginning, we were doing this bi-weekly, which made sense because we were reading a new book every single week, and now it's sometimes a short book. Yeah. I mean, it can be tough. If you're busy, it can be tough. So
since we've stopped that, I've been reading at least 2 full-length Star Wars novels per week, so...
I've read the entire Harry Potter series, which...
Well, you listen to it. Let's not...
Yeah. Oh, are you audiobook shaming me now?
Yes. I've been doing that for quite some time now.
Okay, fair enough.
But how did you guys feel about the topic of today's Star Wars Tapcaf Transmissions episode? The Tragedy, I think it was called. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I was going to make that joke.
See, Charlie, it's kind of believable when it's you, though. After the last episode, Charlie messaged me, this is true, and he's like, just watched it again. Watched it on my phone screen the first time.
in like 360p as well.
I really liked when Ahsoka fought Hagrid. That was sick. At least I think that's what was going on. It was really dark.
The first time I watched it, you mentioned the scene of Din holding Grogu's hand, and I was like, I don't remember that, and it was so low quality I couldn't see it.
I almost said Yoda, and then almost corrected myself to Yaddle, and I was like, no, neither of those are right.
Hey, we don't know that yet.
Yeah,
maybe it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, maybe it was. Clapping those green cheeks. But yeah, for real though, episode review. I will say I give my hot take reactions after watching the episode, and I don't think I've had more people disagree with me. Well, I said in my review, I think this was one of the most controversial episodes that I've seen because there were a lot of people who really, really liked it. But I saw on Reddit and on Twitter that there was also a lot of people who just weren't feeling certain aspects of it. Less related to plot and more the direction of the episode and
I think you and I both ended up on kind of the same page with this independently. And I don't think I've seen anyone actively dislike it. I don't think either of us are in that camp. It's just there were some things that didn't that we just weren't as big on.
You mean didn't Jaren did?
No, I didn't mean to say that word because I had nothing to follow it, so I changed the sentence, and then you just called it out with a really bad joke, and just that neither of us are at our best there.
No. But
so we're going to edit that out. And I'm going to leave this discussion about it in, though.
You're right when, I don't think... there weren't that many people who actively disliked it, you're right. For me, it was I said bottom 5 episodes. I think that may be too harsh, but on the other hand, there's only been 14 episodes, so it does kind of feel right. I don't think I've actively disliked any episode so far. So, yeah, what about you, Charlie?
I'd say the elements for a really cool episode are there, but the atmosphere was off, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the directing and narrative didn't sit well with me, but that's just me as a viewer. Which was the first scene where they were trying to build a further bond with Din and Grogu.
You mentioned that to me.
And I'm not a massive fan of the concept of showing and telling. That they tried to make it very literal that he's having a stronger bond with the kid. And I think they could have hidden that more in subtext, like they have been doing in previous episodes.
See, that was part of the episode that I actually thought was one of the better ones, and like we actually
I don't really want to invite Charlie on anymore, to be honest.
Yeah, because like we've never seen him laugh before, and never seen him like react that excitedly about something, especially when we know he's coming up to this decision at some point about like he either has to realize that he's not like the getting rid of the child is not just a mission, like he actually means something to him, and either has to come to terms with the fact that they're going to stick together, or he's actually going to be rid of the child at some point. And
I do see where Charlie's coming from. For me, it was like on the line. It was a little too on the nose, but I didn't think it was bad.
It was a little bit hammy, but it was hammy in a way that Star Wars often is, so it didn't stick out to me that much. Whereas there were parts in the rest of the episode that kind of felt like they were big moments, but they were big moments because of who was involved. So it felt like the relationship with Din and Grogu it feels earned at this point because of everything that's happened before in the series. But a lot of the moments that were kind of meant to be the big moments in this episode just feel like they're big moments because Boba Fett or like stuff that's established elsewhere. Just where if you were to get someone who's less familiar with what's going on to watch the episode, like when I'm watching through this with my girlfriend and she's not that into Star Wars, I feel like when we get to this episode, it's going to fall a bit flat for her because like
Can I counter that if that's okay?
No.
So
yes,
I get where you're coming from with the relationship being earned between the two characters, but if you're building Din as a third dimensional character, it has to go both ways. He's been built to be this very stoic person that in some way you can almost self-insert in some aspects. So like if he's going to be built like a stoic character and you're trying to flesh him out as a three-dimensional character, he can't just go straight back to his default stoic self when he loses Grogu. You know, like there was a very deadpan response from him.
That was a bit of an issue.
To that's the beginning of the episode. So
that was an issue.
That was an issue I had with the Razor's Crest and that. But the first part of the episode, that's why I say like I like the first part of the episode, but the rest feels kind of like they hit the beats and like actually getting the stuff done, but it felt unearned in those moments and felt like it was just important because of what was happening, just happening rather than because of how they actually executed it. Like he does not seem to give much of a fuck that Grogu's been taking, that the Razor's Crest is gone. And like even as getting to Tython was a moment that like I was looking forward to. It was like we got right into it. I didn't think they'd be doing that away like that, and it was kind of just, oh, we're here. Here's this giant force sensitive rock. Oh, you're not doing anything. Oh, look away. Oh, look, you're doing something now, and we don't know what you're doing. Looked kind of cool. Oh, here's Boba Fett, because it was just like moment after moment, but none of those moments individually felt like they had that much impact to me, and they didn't seem like they had much impact on him.
Yeah, like that's why I wonder why they had to keep this episode so short. Like it needed more room to breathe. It's only by the time you get the intro and the outro out, you have less than 30 minutes of episode.
Yeah.
Like the credits start rolling at 28 minutes, and then you've got the show doesn't start until 2 minutes. So you've got 26 minutes of episode. It's just not enough, really. Like for me, there were a lot of issues in that sense, and like part of it I think is just like how the episode was filmed. For one, it was filmed like this is a real place they went to, which is weird Tython. Because usually Tython, usually the Mandalorian's filmed in the volume, and I think that combined with like the way it was filmed kind of made it feel like a lot of people have been saying that it felt a little fan filmy, which is something that I got too. Because Robert Rodriguez, he sometimes will go for almost that like hyper realistic, like just the way he films things. Like, and it can be jarring. Like, I noticed that when I watched some of his other movies, like I almost said Hobo with a Shotgun. That's not him. Like Machete. That's one of those movies where like it's kind of I enjoy it, but I've always felt it kind of weird how all of this, like in that case it's hyper violence, but in this case it's like high Star Wars fantasy happens alongside kind of such kind of like realistic looking filming, if that makes sense. And that's always thrown me off. And for some scenes I thought it worked really well. Like with the scene where Slave 1 came in, I thought that was awesome. And the way that was filmed with the ship kind of slowly coming in the background, I thought that worked really well. But then for other scenes, like when the stormtroopers attacked, I thought that kind of exposed the weakness of it, and it was kind of a bit of a boring scene.
Yeah.
And like Tython itself was... Sorry, go ahead.
Nope, you finish.
I was going to say Tython itself was also... I think you were kind of mentioning this too. I thought it was pretty underwhelming as a planet. Like that's definitely a location where they could have stopped and like let the viewer soak it in, or like had some wide establishing shots, or because this is supposed to be like a big ancient Jedi temple, and it's kind of just like a hill he lands on and goes to town.
Yeah, it's like that place in Lord of the Rings, and that's kind of just what it looks like.
Yeah.
But actually, I kind of want to jump back to the Grogu and Din discussion for a second, and like devil's advocate that in some ways you may expect the kind of same reaction, like emotional reaction to Grogu getting taken and Razor's crest exploding, but I don't think it's invalid that kind of a regression is what happens rather than like emotional explosion, because like part of the growth has been that he is going from being this stoic character into actually showing that he cares for Grogu. But when he's taken away, because this is an established part of who he is, I don't think it's necessarily like I think some reaction would have been the better way to go, but I don't think the choice to have him kind of just go back to how he was at the start in those moments is that bad.
So to say subtly that he's grown a form of codependency on Grogu for like emotion.
Yeah, like, I'd say there's probably an element of that where he's like, because we've seen him interact with other people, even people that he likes, where it's not quite the same, or is nowhere near the same level as what he does with Grogu, but when it comes to this one thing, he lets himself kind of detach from his normal, just stoic, this is the way self.
I just hope if they are going to go that way, that there's a payoff when they eventually reconnect. Like, because I do think.
Oh, you think what you're saying? You think they're actually going to rescue Grogu at some point? You don't think he's just going to turn into green mush?
I'm going to take the brave approach and say, yeah, I think he will. And I get what you're saying. I just hope that, like, because the stoic Mandalorian thing is okay, and it's okay that he regresses, but if he never moves past that, it's kind of boring.
Well, I think that's a lot of that's going to come out with like Bo-Katan's involvement, or even Boba now, like where we're kind of seeing him like we'll start seeing him shift away from that in other ways as well, but Grogu was his foot in the door there, and now Grogu's gone. Because like the way we see the Death Watch Mandalorians was a lot more in line with how Din was acting, but then you get to Bo-Katan's and like the Night Owls. If like I don't know if they're actually still the Night Owls, but I'm just gonna call them the Night Owls.
That's what I've been calling
them. Where they are still like kind of stoic, badass types, but they are a bit more open and they're more expressive. So the more that Din starts spending time with them, and like Boba's probably even more in that camp. Like he's still very controlled, but I feel like we'll start seeing Din move in that direction.
That makes sense. No, I'd like to see that. It's just I still would have liked to see something when I don't care about the Razor Crest, but I still would have liked to see something when Yoda was gone. But no, I get what you mean.
I wanted to jump back to your Tython point if I can before
Yeah,
we just
sure.
quickly move
No,
on
go
to the
ahead.
next stuff. I think obviously I agree with the statement that Typhon didn't feel as very impactful as the other places, and I think what I meant with like a lot of really strong points that'll make a lot of Star Wars fans enjoy the episode, but without the atmosphere. I think I've really enjoyed these big turning moments in the story, like Ahsoka Tano finding other Mandalorians, and understanding Grogu's species. I think
Hmm.
they've all been confined within a atmosphere that has been really built up from the ground up.
Hmm.
So when you implement these, turning events that add a lot of weight to the story that keep me invested, it feels very grounded in where it's being placed in that
Hmm.
location with these people. And Typhon, I was surprised that we were immediately going there, um, and that there wasn't any inhabitants there, and it made it
Hmm.
feel very empty. We didn't see any wildlife. We didn't see any unique aspects that make this planet unique. Um, so to arrive to this
Yeah.
planet and then implement these turning events like Boba Fett and the Dark Troopers, it just didn't have the grounded impact that these
Hmm.
previous episodes have had.
That's a good point. Because at least the other planet from last episode, Corvus, had those monsters and stuff, and it had like
Mm,
that city, which helped make it feel kind of more Star Warsy. That probably part of the reason why this felt a bit fan filmy was because it's literally just like the boys found a pretty big hill to film on for a couple days and
mhm,
got her done.
Hmm.
mhm, mhm.
Like, yeah, the one bit of wildlife we saw was a butterfly, not a
Yes.
not a Tython fly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's the same reaction I had uh, with the first season episode where it's a bunch of shrimp fishermen, which
Hmm.
is like I was excited to see some Star Wars creatures. Like, no, here's a shrimp, but
Hmm.
like I wouldn't expect there to be inhabitants, but like some other
Hmm.
sign that there had been Jedi there before, because like the temple you, it is supposed to be separate from the temple, like it's supposed to be the stone on the mountain, but there was really nothing else there. The statues were just very 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 weathered rocks,
Hmm.
and that was the only other sign that like you could use this set in almost anything, and
Yeah.
it's just like
Well,
any hill with anything on it.
that's what I was saying, like on Twitter. It kind of reminded me either of something from like Star Trek the original series where they
Hmm.
just filmed somewhere in California, or it reminded me of like Battlestar Galactica slash like a thousand other science fiction shows that would just film somewhere in BC. like
Yeah.
like how every forest in Battlestar Galactica on the various planets just looks like the forests of BC. Like this is kind of what this reminded me of.
Yeah, it's
Um
just so jarring when there's been so much just world building with the other locations we've seen, or so much care has gone into the
mhm,
details there, and then we get to Tython, which is like seeing like this is a very important planet in the lore for
mhm.
both Legends and canon. So just there was some expectation there that this might like that they had something to work off of, and there was something like at this point, it's like, why use Tython for this if this is what you're doing? Like it
Mhm.
almost looked more like Octo if Luke wasn't going to be there.
Yeah, it did look quite a bit like Octo. On that note, before we continue, the nerds will probably want us to talk about the Tython location
Location, yeah,
discrepancy, or maybe discrepancy. I still think it's probably a discrepancy.
yeah,
So the lore, although Tython hasn't been very important in Star Wars canon, it has been established in canon and legends to be in the deep core. Now, this episode, I'd say, is almost like ambiguous about it. So there's one scene
hmm
at the very beginning where you get a look at the Mandalorian's Navicomputer, and there are two dots. There's a dot towards the center of the galaxy where you'd expect the deep core to be, and then there's a dot towards the outside of the galaxy. And some have guessed that that's one of those was the starting location and the end location, so that would indicate that Tython's in their correct place. However, there's also a scene later when the Empire shows up, Fennec Shand says the Outer Rim is under the jurisdiction of the New Republic. So you can kind of read that two ways. One would be, well, we're in the Outer Rim, so the Empire shouldn't be here. Or two, the New Republic has pushed the Empire back so much that they've now taken jurisdiction over the Outer Rim. There should be nowhere for them to hide. Like, what are they doing here? And you can kind of make both interpretations, I think. But
yeah. Like, I feel like it'll still be in the deep core, and that line was just going to turn out to be like kind of ambiguously stated. But like my initial reaction, because I didn't see the computer at the start, or I wasn't paying attention to the computer at the start, was that like, oh, did they just move it kind of like happen to an axis? And even that, there's ways kind of around the axis being moved thing. But
yeah, I still have my theory that, because like that's the whole thing. It's like they're in the Outer Rim sieges. That was like, and then they're at an axis. My whole theory is that the Outer Rim sieges were going on, and then they left to go defend an axis, which makes sense.
Yeah, because that campaign made its way towards the core, because they went from the Outer Rim sieges and like right to Coruscant. So
yeah. So maybe it was like a diversionary strike or whatever.
But yeah, I think it was probably still Tython in the deep core, but we'll see.
I'm a little disappointed because we talked about this last episode and I theorized about it a little bit more in a video. I really thought that they were going to have to like work with the New Republic to get to Tython, because they've been spending their whole time in the Outer Rim now. The deep core is like notoriously hard to get to, and it's the first time we've left kind of the quote unquote safe, like Wild West of the Outer Rim. So yeah, I thought they were going to have to maybe get that X-Wing pilot who's been following them to help them get past a New Republic security checkpoint or something.
Yeah. Yeah, like it was really shocking to be like, oh, we started the episode. What are they going to be doing? How are they going to be getting to Tython? It's like, okay, we're at Tython. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, especially because the picture for the episode was him back on Navarro meeting Cara Dune.
Yeah.
So that's where I thought he was approaching at first, and I was like, oh, like I love Navarro, but I was like, I'm not ready to go back here already. So it was definitely a little shocking to for this to happen, I guess.
Yeah, and now she's an official New Republic Marshal, so I guess Navarro has joined the New Republic with Senator Grief Karga.
That was a big jump from that one scene to the next.
I'm not a joiner. Hey, guess what? Din I joined?
yeah. But
kind of weird too, because she was her title was Marshal last episode, or sorry, 2 episodes ago when she was featured, because when they're at the front gates, he mentions that to her because he's a magistrate, or Grief Karga is a magistrate and she's a marshal now.
Yeah, so. But like that was just the little insignia that the guy left with there, right? Like, is she just lying about this? Is it a joke that Din just didn't pick up on? It could have just
been a joke that Din was making, like, oh, Marshal of the New Republic or whatever, because she's got the badge. I don't know. It's like possible.
Neither of them seem to acknowledge that this wasn't actually a thing, and seeing like Din, I'm pretty sure just accepts that, and then she like pushes back on breaking the guy out of prison.
She's got access to the computer code, so she must be part of the New Republic now, I guess.
Yeah, I
don't know. I'm fine with it. I mean, I think it makes sense for them to try to join the New Republic, but I guess
it's just kind of weird in context where it's like, did I miss something? Are you joking? If you have to explain the joke, then it's like that's not a good joke. That's why this podcast isn't funny.
Yeah, for sure. That's true.
So, did we want to go through this in chronological order of the episode, or are you not fast on where we go?
We're kind of going in chronological order right now, I'd say. We've talked about the journey to Tython. So I think the next thing to talk about is, well, Corey, you've been worried especially about Boba returning. So how did you, or not Boba, but just characters dominating the show too much? How did you feel about him being tied now to the show this way? Because we both, I think, thought that he would probably return in season 3, if at all.
I thought there'd be an episode about like confronting Boba, but I really didn't expect it to be a situation where like, no, what's actually going to happen is that Boba is going to be one of the core RPG party members for the next few episodes, it seems like, and that Din is like entirely reliant on him to go anywhere now.
Did you like that, or?
I'm not sure how I feel about that yet, because like one of the things I said already about this episode that made it drop a little bit for me was how some of the moments felt like they were kind of done to be cool, not just because they were good moments, but because it was Boba doing them. And that's kind of what my fear is with having these kinds of cameos, where like, sure, they're fun, but that also ends up having the show kind of rest on the fact that like they are here rather than what it's doing or what it's actually building up. Like, was it cool to finally see Boba do like everything that people have imagined him doing since he was introduced, and like finally be a cool movie character, a cool live action character in a way he literally never has before, because he really just stood there and then fell into a hole. Like, yeah, that was really cool, and I'm sure we'll get to see him do more stuff. But is this going to now be the Boba show featuring Din? Because like, what did Din do this episode, really? Get to Tython, sit at the top of the hill, and watch his stuff explode and get stolen.
Yeah. I mean, I get where you're coming from. I think it's a cool team up, though. Like, and I think as much as the Mandalorian's going to make sense, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, but the thing with it is just like how much it's been happening this season, where it's not just like this is the one thing they're doing that way. It's been Boba, and last episode was very Ahsoka, where Din is kind of becoming a side character in his own show in some of these episodes. And like the episodes that we have where it's him and new characters, or even someone like Cobb Vanth that's less prominent, then there's still enough focus on Din that it was he was still the primary character. But like last episode it was Ahsoka, this episode very Boba. And if we have 2 more episodes that are that focused on Boba, then, or as focused on Boba as this was, then I don't know.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think this was probably so focused on him because it's kind of a reintroduction, well, a proper introduction to the character, because he really only has that brief appearance. But I see where you're coming from. I'm less worried than I was at the beginning of the season about this being not the Mando show. Like, I don't think Boba's going to steal the spotlight from him. Like, it's still ultimately Din's mission. But I do see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, we're already past the point in the season that I would have said I was worried about before the season started, if you know what I mean. Like, there have been enough cameos, and they've been prominent enough that like I would have said beforehand that that's more than I would have wanted. Because like Bo-Katan, similar thing, where there have been half the episodes this season that have just been someone else's cameo episode from something else. Where if we got, if these 3 episodes were spread across both seasons and it was that amount, then sure. But if we're already at half the episodes this season being like that, at what point is it going to be like, okay, yeah, the rest won't be like that, especially when we're going into 2 more episodes that we're pretty confident that Boba's going to be on, and now the starring ship of the show is going to be Slave One, and Razor's Crest is literally blown up as soon as it shows up.
Thank God, hideous fucking ship.
Oh, you don't like Razor's Crest?
I hate Razor's Crest. I'm so glad it's gone. The fucking interstellar van. Yeah, let's get something better.
It's like the people who made the Minecraft mod pack are like, are you serious? Like, you spent all this time?
Like, I want to be clear. I'm not like disliking the show because of it, but I would have preferred, if we're gonna have this many cameos, spreading them out a bit more. Because it has been very heavily focused on bringing in these characters from other things.
Yeah, I was less worried about. I 100% see where you're coming from. I was less worried about there being cameos versus the cameo stories overwhelming the Mandalorian story, which obviously hasn't happened at all yet. Because you're right, the cameos have been kind of just like glimpses into these what will eventually be other shows, probably, or whatever else. So yeah, I see where you're coming from. For me, it hasn't been too much. But what about you, Charlie? You're kind of coming at this from a different perspective, admittedly. I think you kind of like the tie-ins.
Yeah, I just think Corey's going to absolutely lose it when and stick to his channel name when Mace Windu gets introduced next episode.
God, where did this Mace Windu stuff start? I've been seeing this, but
Star Wars theory.
Okay, but he's like he fell out of a window, and he's I guess that's not really a good reason in Star Wars for him not to show up.
The one rule of film or TV shows is if you don't see a corpse, they are not dead.
Yeah, if there's one person who's been like fighting to get back into Star Wars property since the prequels, it's Samuel L. Jackson.
It's just like, I think it's a big part of Anakin's fall is killing Mace Windu. Yeah. And like George Lucas has said he was dead. There's obviously, Darth Maul fall. That's different though. Darth Maul essentially at that point is just, he's a very simple kill for Obi-Wan, not simple in like skill, but simple in morality.
He's just a simple torso trying to make his way in the universe.
Yeah, exactly. So, I also don't really see the appeal of Mace Windu coming back because Mace is kind of a dick. I love Samuel L. Jackson. Kind of a dick though.
Yeah, Mace is like everything wrong with the Jedi Order in the prequels. Like he's kind of symbolizing that. And like I have enjoyed the cameos on their own, but it's like, do I think the show is going to stop with them? If they stop with it right now and it never gets to take over it more than it already has, then fine. But it does seem like that's the trend it's on. I don't think they're going to bring Mace Windu back for this, at least. I think I do think there's a non-zero chance that Mace Windu gets brought back in something, though.
I mean, my defense of, well, he fell down out of a window is a very poor one. I could see it. I think it's so important to Anakin falling to the dark side that Mace Windu dies. Yeah. But yeah, I guess to be clear, nobody who's fallen down a window or something else other than Mace Windu has not come back, because Palpatine came back, Maul came back.
Well, Palpatine did die. He did die. He got better.
Yeah. He respawned.
The closer we get to bigger characters in the prequel and the original trilogy, the more we lose Mandalorian, I feel. Like, I really don't want to see Luke. I really don't want to see Mace Windu. And I want this show to be the show that can flesh out everything in between without actually touching the main storylines.
Yeah, like that's the thing that has me concerned with this one, where it's like Grogu called out and like something happened there. Something is going to pay off from that. And we've already seen Ahsoka. Ahsoka's the one that sent them here, so it's going to be someone who isn't Ahsoka. And like, it's not going to be an unknown character. You're not going to go from Ahsoka to an unknown character. It like, is Obi-Wan going to show up?
Obi-Wan.
Force Ghost Obi-Wan.
I don't know. I would be.
He's going to leave the show at the end of his episode like, watch me on Disney Plus.
It's not bad. I don't know. I think if Luke showed up, I wouldn't be able to help but be excited. Like, I mean, it's Luke. Like,
are you a Sebastian stan?
I think I am. I think he would do a good job. For me, I would rather them do that route, maybe with some very light CG work, than a fucking uncanny demon spawn Princess Leia in Episode 9, where she's been de-aged to be training with Luke. I thought that was awful.
Well, we've already got a young Harrison or a young Han with Alden, so like it's not out of the realm of possibility. And I think Sebastian Stan can look a lot more like Mark Hamill than
absolutely.
Can, so. To be clear, I did actually really like Alden as Han, but
yeah,
visually,
they're movies, so like I think we as viewers can understand that this is meant to be the same character.
Yeah, we've all seen soap operas before.
Yeah, of course. It's like with Mace, it is the nice fact that Samuel L. Jackson is like has aged the correct amount. Not quite enough, I guess, but
no, it's only been 15 years since the prequels were made, and
it's been like 25 since.
I guess
26.
30.
So he's off by a decade, but I mean in movie terms, like that's nothing. Like Aunt Beru was a fox in episode 3, and then she's 60 in episode 4.
Yeah, then Obi-Wan was Ewan McGregor right now, technically in the original trilogy.
Yeah, true.
But Tatooine ages you. It's not a good place to be. It's bad for the skin.
Live there. It's not even the Suns either. It's just the nasty brews they're serving up at Chalum's Cantina.
I think that the people behind Star Wars are really trying to move away from the Skywalker saga, and I think the Mandalorian is doing a great job of that in a way. The same as Fallen Order and so on and so forth. So I think if we were to ever see a Jedi appear from what Grogu on the what? Sorry, is it the Wish something stone? Sorry, I forgot the name.
Seeing Stone or whatever.
Seeing Stone.
The Wishing Stone.
I think my two theories, it's either going to be Cal from Fallen Order. I think that would be that will actually hype me. I'd want him the most out of everyone.
It's Ezra.
But my other dark horse would probably maybe Kyle Katarn.
No. That'd be cool.
No?
I don't think they'll reintroduce Kyle Katarn like this.
I think if they've already brought in the Dark Troopers, it's a possibility.
I think it's going to be Ezra.
I honestly think it's going to be Luke. I think it's going to be Luke. I think he's going to miss. No, I do think it's going to be Luke, but I think there's going to be a misconnection thing. Or you remember that scene, Charlie? You won't, but Corey, you remember that scene in Battlefront 2 where Luke meets Del Meeko, I think it is, from the Empire on that planet, and they just have a conversation. It's like one of the best Luke scenes in new canon. I would like to have just something like that between Luke and the Mandalorian. I don't think that would be too much.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Just Luke, just be like, listen, bud, he's not going to become a Jedi. He's been force choking people for 40 years, probably. He's kind of fucked up. Just take him on as an apprentice, and it'll be cool. Yeah, I write for Disney, by the way, in case you guys
so this jumps ahead a lot, but was Grogu force choking the stormtroopers, or was he just holding them up? I wasn't 100% clear on that.
I think he was force choking.
I've got to listen again, because every single force choke in Star Wars is accompanied by that sound, and I don't know if I heard it or not, but I assume he was meant to be.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't as clear on it, because their heads were moving in kind of a choky way, but it could also be consistent with him just holding them up. But I didn't think I heard the signature choking.
Yeah, it's like a brief gust of wind.
Yeah.
But one thing I will add, I'm really glad that we all have different estimations on what will be the next Jedi to appear in Mandalorian. I'm glad that we all aren't settling on the same one, because this kind of shows just how interesting this show is being.
Corey, you said Ezra, right?
I think Ezra is the most likely. Yeah.
Okay. Corey's Ezra. I'm either Cal or Kyle, and you're Luke.
We'll give you Mace as well if you want him.
No. I no.
Yeah, if you basically give me Ezra or the field, I'll take Ezra at this point.
Okay. All right.
So if we want to give Charlie literally everyone who isn't Luke and Ezra, then I'm still good on those odds.
I got to think about that until the end of the episode, but that seems good.
Look at what we have so far. If a lot of this is either tying into Rebels or setting up for a Rebels sequel. We've got Ahsoka already. We got Bo-Katan. You better believe Sabine is going to show up at some point. And if you need a Jedi who's been missing, getting called out to in the Force, who better? Ahsoka's
honestly,
looking for Thrawn.
I've been calling out to Kyle Katarn every night. Kyle. Be recanonized, please.
Carl, tea's ready, mate, please.
And I think with Cal, I also said Can. That's Cameron Monaghan. I feel like because
I saw him in real life, he's very handsome. Sorry,
I saw him for like 40 hours in a video game.
True.
That game was so successful, I wouldn't be surprised.
But we're definitely getting Fallen Order 2, and I feel like it
perfect time.
Well, I feel like depending on what the timing of that game is, like the timeline, having Cal show up in live action right now,
too much of a spoiler.
Yeah, it kind of closes off some of his story options a bit too much, unless we're going into like post Mando time period with him, in which case
I'd be in for that. But
yeah, I feel like that leaves too much on the table for more Jedi Fallen Order games.
Agreed.
Still the entire Empire to go through.
The thing about Cal too is I was expecting him to die in Fallen Order, so that removes a lot of the interest from the second game as well, because he's a character who doesn't have anything to go to after the game, so they can kill him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Hear me out though.
Okay.
Right? He appears in at the end of season 2. We might get a trailer for the next game, and then when the next game comes out, season 3's out, and it's just a massive tie-in.
That would be a big time jump between games, because the first one's set like nearly 25 years before this.
I know. I mean, I'm happy to
I see where you're coming from. I totally get where you're coming from as well.
Let's put this to a bet. Each of us put in $20 each.
Okay.
Whoever's character appears, and I won't include Mace Windu on mine, because that's not fair to have.
What happens if none of them appear, or all of them?
I think Corey and I should get the rest of the episode, the rest of the podcast, to think of a long shot option as well.
Okay. And if none of our choices appear,
Still
we put it into charity.
Okay.
If none of our choices appear.
Okay.
I'm fine with
that's
that.
fine. Okay. That works for me. Corey, you can have Mara Jade as well if you want.
So what are the chances they all show up? What if it's just like we get to the season finale and it's Luke, Cal, Ezra,
getting an old fashioned,
and Ahsoka just all standing there. It's like, hey, why have we never met before?
Can you believe it took the Mandalorian to bring us together?
I'd hate that. That'd be just the worst.
See, I was prepared for it to be like getting there, the stone does nothing because Grogu doesn't bother calling out to anyone because he wants to stay with the Mandalorian. And then it's like, oh yeah, you're a foundling. You're gonna become a Mandalorian because you don't want to call out to anyone. But then he did. So something has to happen now. Someone has to answer that call.
Starkiller.
God no.
Well,
that'd be a weird one.
There was rumors of a Force Unleashed 3 from Insider recently.
I feel like Fallen Order has filled that niche in a way that I like so much more.
Yeah.
I am not a fan of like Force Unleashed 1 had some fun with. There's a lot of frustrating parts in that game until you if you're playing on PC without a controller, especially.
Yeah.
With a controller, it's fine. But Force Unleashed 2 is just God. Bring it down. That fucking VO is going to be etched into my mind forever because I took an hour and a half to beat that. And it's just why anyone thought QuickTime events were one of the worst decisions anyone ever made in games.
Yeah, and
there's a reason we haven't seen one in 12 years.
Well, Fallen Order had some QuickTime events, but nothing like that.
Yeah, but that was like that was like press a few buttons during the cutscene. Force Unleashed was like, this is a core part of the gameplay, and if you want to beat the Star Destroyer, then you gotta do this.
What if what if it's not a good guy who hears the Force call?
Well, is it going to be worse than Moff Gideon already being there? So I feel like he's the big bad for the show. So do you think
he's the big bad for the show? Like, do you think the show's over when Moff Gideon's dead?
I feel like the main plots that we have right now are over when Moff Gideon's dead. So unless it's setting up a much later, you awoke me from my slumber, then I don't see why they'd be what they'd be doing now.
What if it just summons somebody on Uber and they just show up and they're like, "What the fuck?" Like, I'm supposed to take you to the airport.
It's cost how much?
Well, if you think about Dark Jedi right now, who would you, other than a new character, who would you expect to be to show up as a result of this?
Oh, no one. It would be a new character.
You think it'd be a new character? Another potential Force sensitive new evil character for them to fight, when what seems like the main point right now is to stop someone like Gideon from becoming Force sensitive.
I mean, I don't think that's likely. I don't think that's more likely than a Jedi showing up. I'm just saying, like, I imagine the call went out on all channels, right?
Yeah. This is what wakes Palpatine up.
Jarek, as Daigo's Fish said. He can't see, but he can.
Yeah. I think it's a very high chance any of our current suggestions, I'd say I'm like 95% sure any of our suggestions that we're putting money towards will appear as a character. So Luke, Cal, Kyle, or Ezra, I think are very super high chances.
For me, logically, Ezra makes the most sense as just from a pure character point. But when it comes to where the characters are, that's where I think Ezra stops making sense, because at this point he's still lost. And I find it kind of, I guess I find it hard to believe that, like,
but yeah,
exactly.
No, but like Ahsoka's looking like Thrawn is the one organizing this other stuff, and Ahsoka is actively hunting Thrawn. So Ezra isn't any more lost than Thrawn is.
Well, I don't know, because she was able to find Thrawn, like find ties to Thrawn pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're saying here.
Okay, well, I'm just saying Ezra hasn't even really returned to the galaxy at large. At least, like, it doesn't seem like he has. Unlike, like Thrawn is back doing something. I don't know if they got split up or what.
If Thrawn is back, then like Ezra would have escaped as well, and maybe he hasn't like shown up directly anywhere yet, or maybe we just haven't heard about him showing up directly anywhere yet. Maybe he's already with Sabine, and that's why Sabine's not with Bo-Katan. But like, if Thrawn is back, like Thrawn may be smarter than Ezra, but Ezra is more individually capable than Thrawn is. So if Thrawn was able to get out of there, then you have to assume Ezra is.
Oh, I think he got out of there. I just think it would be kind of strange. I don't know. I just think it'd be strange for that to be the first thing for him to do when he's been lost for so long, I guess, to go seek somebody else out instead of his friends.
Yeah, I guess part of it depends on when that scene is. Because has it been confirmed whether this is before or after, like, they're looking?
No, it hasn't. And you can't even really guess. Like I said in the last episode, that my guess was that this is after, based on the age of Jason Syndulla, but someone correctly pointed out, well, there's no guarantee that it's happening concurrently with like those two scenes in the epilogue of Rebels are happening concurrently.
That's true.
Sorry, just to clarify, you're predicting if the ending of Star Wars Rebels was before or after the events of Ahsoka. I know Alex believes it's before. Alex,
I do too.
I think that's most likely, but like
there's no way to tell though. Is the only thing. Like there's no real hints in the scene itself. It's just kind of like what you feel makes more sense. For me, it seems like that was the start of Ahsoka's journey, and I assume Sabine is somewhere else. And she's been like, her following these trails has led her to Grand Admiral Thrawn. But
I think with just not to stay on the topic too long, but I think with the huge tie-ins with Star Wars Rebels, I think Corey might win this one.
I wouldn't be surprised if Corey won this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's move on a bit. Do you guys want to talk about the fight scene a little bit?
I want to talk about something a little bit earlier first.
Okay, sure.
That the Mandalorian said dank. So calling stuff dank is an actual Mandalorian expression.
Isn't that what he's been saying the whole time? Dank Ferrick or whatever?
Dank Ferrick, yeah. But
I like that scene.
I don't think we've talked about it on the show before, so I feel like it needed to happen.
It is pretty dank. You know what's not dank? The Mandalorian trying to run through that goddamn force field 3 separate times. Also,
he made it through-ish.
sort of. But then he was like, nah. Speaking of Fallen Order, I did notice the one nice little detail is the stone, that the Seeing Stone had like the same kind of Jedi script. It's just like just the long kind of L and S shaped letters.
That's actually something I didn't like, because it doesn't make any sense anymore. Like, why the Mandalorian didn't just load that save? It's like he could stop him.
Like let Baby Yoda level up and he'll be fine.
Yeah, like I know it's kind of save scumming, but at this point, like, you kind of got to use all the weapons in your arsenal. And like the Dark Troopers came down and they didn't even really do much. They just floated down, grabbed him, and left.
Yeah.
So if you got to save scum that fight a couple times, then like we all fought the shirtless boomer, I'm sure many times our first time.
Oh yeah, that guy.
But,
what's his name again?
I just kept calling him shirtless boomer when I was playing.
I remember I watched your stream of you trying to fight him. It was rough. But let's talk about the actual fight though, between the trio and
you mean between Fennec and Boba on one side and then the stormtroopers on the other side?
Yeah.
Din did show up to get shot later. So that fair.
Also, I do want to say too that I thought Boba was great. Like the acting and everything. Like Tamura Morrison, I thought he did a perfect job of like mixing Django with like OT Boba Fett. I don't know. I just thought it all sounded very, very good. And I thought the body language and stuff was pretty on point, and he brought a nice like ferocity to the battle. Like he was cracking skulls, man.
Yeah.
I think the fight scene went on a little bit too long. Like there was, especially with I forget her name, the sniper,
Fennec.
That scene was a little bit elongated for me, and I was
like,
oh wow,
I didn't
this
like
is
it
still
either.
Going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
was just too like. Yeah, it was the 30-minute episode. It was also just pretty silly. Like there were some pretty silly parts. Like I'm okay with stormtroopers occasionally being a bit of cannon fodder, but in this case, it's like she's only beating them. It's like a stormtrooper comes around a corner, she turns and aims faster. Stormtrooper comes around a corner, she turns and aims faster. She pushes a rock down. It's like they never really feel like they're anything more than fodder, which is a problem not unique to this show. But it's just it just felt a little. I don't know if campy is the right word, but it kind of exaggerated some of those issues. But I did like the actual brutality of that rock crushing those stormtroopers, and the brutality of Boba just going ham is something you don't usually see, especially that scene where he's like, I could definitely tell it was Robert Rodriguez. That one scene where he's like dragging the gaffy stick across the ground to go like golf smash that last.
That was a great scene. I think the choreography with a weapon like that is always going to have some creative outputs, and that's why I think forget her name again. Fennec. There's not so much you can do, and it felt very Indiana Jonesy with like with how they were managing her and her fight scenes, and it was very dull. But Boba Fett's choreography was a lot more interesting on a contact, person-to-person contact. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
This would have been a case of less is more, in my opinion. Like 12 stormtroopers, I think would have been entertaining, but like especially when the second shuttle came down and like landed right next to the other two ships as if they were pulling up at like a fucking neighborhood barbecue.
Like I would have been like I was fine with it either way, but like it would have made more sense if it was like the stormtroopers that actually got it, but they were basically just there to be fodder so that we could see Boba and Fennec beat the shit out of people for 25 minutes before none of them had any impact. They run away, Boba blows them up, and then the dark troopers come in. It's like none of those stormtroopers, none of what they did mattered. They had no impact. They were never going to be the ones to get the child. It didn't set the dark troopers up to be able to get the child. You could just skip from them being there to the dark troopers coming down and taking him, and literally nothing would have changed.
That's a really great point. I never thought of that. That's absolutely true. They didn't weave a planned setup at all. It was just a lucky chance.
Yeah, it's questionable why they were there at all.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's a really great point. But just to add on that though, I was going to mention this previous episode, but I was like, you know what, it's probably a one-off. But stormtroopers do feel a little bit more lethal now. Like their shots are somewhat more accurate, like compared to what they usually are. So because that happened in the previous episode as well. Sorry, the 2 episodes before that when they were on the Gazanti. I was like, man, these stormtroopers.
That was 3 episodes before.
Was it 3?
Yes. At least 3, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because the last one,
Gazanti, the Jedi.
It was the Jedi, which was last episode. Then the one before that was the siege, and then it was the. I don't remember the name of that episode.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, it was 3 episodes.
Was it the Heiress? I think
the Heiress.
Name?
Yeah. But even in the siege, they were well, they weren't as impactful. But in the Gazanti scene, they were very aggressive, and I thought, wow, they're really holding up their own end this time around. But yeah, going back,
the Gazanti scene had probably the best action I think in the show so far.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think that's just based on the room setup. The way that the rooms are set up allows a lot of tension in the corridors, like in movement and how that plays out. Here you're in open space, and there's a lot of advantages that just make fights not seem super interesting or have much conflict.
No, you're 100% right. There was a scene, I think it was in the Sin of season 1, where he's breaking back into the Imperial base, and it's like a lot of corridor fighting, and that's when the choreography really shined. I don't know if it's just tough in Star Wars to make prolonged blaster fights in the open. I guess really interesting.
Yeah,
I did like the thing like pushing the rock down, but we did get a lot of Prometheus school of running away from things in that.
To be fair though, that was a fast moving rock, and they're on tough terrain, so I'm gonna give him that one. Plus, a couple people did get out of the way.
Well, there was the guy who tried to shoot the rock with his E-web, and I feel like there's only so much credit.
The absolute legend who tried to shoot the rock?
Halt, who goes there?
The best type of combat is when a character is able to capitalize on a unique environmental thing that they can use as their advantage, whether it be like if they realized, I don't know, the material was very reflective on blaster shots, and Mando's able to perfectly predict a shot that isn't directly at the stormtrooper, and it's able to perfectly bounce to the enemy or something like that. It's got to use the environment in a smart way that makes that type of combat choreography interesting to watch.
No, you're definitely right about that. Let's talk about the Dark Troopers now, because I will say, I first of all predicted that they would have an orbital insertion, although it wasn't orbital in this case. They were in atmosphere. I knew they would come in from the sky. I thought they'd come in a pod, but this was still pretty badass. And I gotta say, the scene where they're like flying through the atmosphere, and like I'm rewatching it now as I talk, and there's like, you can see like the water vapor on their face and stuff, and then there's a cool shot where they're like above the hill, and then they turn and they kind of have to slow down. I thought that was really cool, but then like they just grab the child and leave.
Yeah,
it's like such a waste for like a really poor villain introduction, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of talking about with like the stormtroopers, where if you're just looking for a cool action scene, you've got those dark troopers coming, but it just shows that the stormtroopers were only there so that they can have someone for Boba to beat up before they lose, because they have to lose to the dark troopers to get Grogu out of there. But
like at least have them firing from like as they're coming down. That would have been cool.
That was my question actually. How would you improve that scene, Justin?
Well, if you look at the concept art at the end of the episode, it has the Dark Troopers holding these like mini guns. I think if I were to do it, I would probably just have had them like firing down on the Mando and like completely. I mean, I wouldn't. For me, it was like I wanted them to kill a character to show that they're hot shit, but then it's like I don't want them to kill Boba Fett. I don't want Fennec Shan to get another death after being reintroduced. So there's no one you really can kill.
They killed Din, and now it is just Boba's show.
Yeah. But like, have them do something. Have them secure the child, or like maybe like crush through a boulder. I don't know. Just do something. You know what I mean?
Corey, what about you?
I feel like if you had the stormtroopers and the dark troopers working together in some way, like I do think to make sure that they stay up in their threat level, you can't have them destroy a dark trooper yet. No. But if there's something that the stormtroopers are doing that makes it clear why they went in these two phases like that, because it's not like Gideon is unaware that Din can kill several stormtroopers. This isn't a new thing. No. We're not establishing anything with that. It's literally just these three are going to beat up on some people for a bit until the actual thing happens. So if you can find a way to have the dark troopers are like getting in, they're setting up, maybe Din and Boba and Fennec are doing something that'll hold them off for a bit, but then they break through, and you use the extended fight from having the stormtroopers there to give the protagonists someone that they can kill while the thing that's actually irrelevant is going on, and they ultimately lose, but we still get some cool moments from Boba that shows just how badass he is in a losing engagement. But as it is, it's just like, oh, fight happens, and then these super tough antagonists come down, grab the child, and leave. So if you can tie that together, and I think anyway, it kind of improves it.
But maybe have them like shrug off the whistling birds or whatever. Like that would have been cool. The Mando sees them and fires the whistling birds, and they just don't even stop moving. Or you get like the B2, B1 battle droid situation where one of them just smacks an ordinary stormtrooper out of the way. Or maybe the staff doesn't work against them or something. But yeah.
Yeah, mine would be a mix of what you both suggested. Like the stormtroopers come in, keep Boba and Fennec occupied. Then Mando sees two of the dark troopers go down to Grogu. He picks up his jetpack, flies up. The third one lands right in front of him. The fourth one lands right in front of Boba. Whistling birds, no effect. Flamethrower, no effect. Gets literally beaten, the shit beaten out of him. Boba is able to hold off for a bit longer, but is ultimately tackled down as well. And before he's killed off, Fennec is able to stave off any threat from Boba as he's recovering. They take the baby, they leave, the stormtroopers leave, and then Boba shoots down both spaceships. And then that's how I think that combat would have weaved all of the events together and made a much more suspenseful and power level idea of all the characters, personally. Yeah.
It would have been kind of stupid and goofy in hindsight, but I would have loved to see the stormtroopers running from them as well. Like the stormtroopers are fighting until they see the dark troopers come down, and then they just fuck off.
Or even have like, instead of having two transports, have the one transport and then in the dark troopers, and have like Din and Boba both shoot a rocket at, like, one's going for a dark trooper, one's going for the ship, blow up the ship, but the dark trooper survives or something. It's like, give us some idea of what the dark troopers are able to do other than fly down while they're distracted. And like, not even distracted, they're just not on the hill at the moment. But yeah, that was kind of my main thing with it, was that the combat was such a main part of the episode, but ultimately the combat we saw didn't really mean anything, because no one accomplished anything out of it other than maybe get Din 20 feet away from the child.
One kind of thing I'll add to that is I thought it was a little unsatisfying when Boba Fett's chasing the dark troopers and then he approaches the Architens and then he just flies away. Like, I would have liked to see the ship shooting at him or something, especially that shot with the turbo laser I thought was really cool. But like, it would have been nice to, because he's just kind of like I guess I'll just fuck off and leave when like it would have been cool just to see the ship like sending him away.
So do you guys think we're getting 2 more episodes like of full Boba and Fennec then?
I think
they said they're sticking with him until they get the child back, and Din has no way to get anywhere.
Does Grief Karga have a ship?
I think he used.
No,
we assume
I think
he does, but I don't think we've seen him use it.
Oh God, what if he gets the Millennium Falcon? That'd be fucking awful. If he gets the Millennium Falcon, I'm done with this fucking show. Because is it missing yet in lore? I don't know, but
no, I don't think that happens until closer when Ben is becoming Kylo, right?
Thank God. I don't remember, but if that happens, I'm just done with the fucking show.
Done with this show and these shit ships.
But like,
I love the Falcon. It would just be, yeah.
We have kind of a promissory note from 2 guest stars here that they're going to be there for the next 2 episodes, and I feel like that's more of a consistent presence than we've gotten from any of the kind of supporting characters, including Grief and Kara, from the first season at least, because they've been in 2 episodes this season, and we assume, I think, that they're going to be playing a role in the next one, because like he went to see Kara about rescuing Bill Burr, which I really wish they wouldn't. I hated that character, but like in the first season, I think the character that we saw the most would have been like Quill,
yeah,
and Queel, whatever. I could never remember which it's supposed to be, and that was only like 2, maybe 3 episodes. So like Boba and Fennec could be jumping up into top billing as far as the supporting characters go.
Yeah, it's possible. I think they'll definitely be around for episode 8. It's also possible, I think, that for episode 7 that they just fuck off and do something else while Mando's rescuing Bill Burr. Not Bill Burr's character either, just Bill Burr. But yeah.
Who survived from that mission? I forget, and I'm not sure which of those people I'd actually want to see back.
I don't really care. That was like my least favorite episode. I think
Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one was not great.
I mean, the New Republic stuff was cool, but
I'll probably rewatch it before next week because
I'm gonna have to as well.
Yeah.
Like, is Cobb Vanth gonna come back this season? Do you guys think that was a one and done with him? I feel like he's the character most likely to be a one and done, but I don't know.
I really liked Cobb Vanth's character.
See, I'd like for him to come back, but
yeah. I don't know how you do it though.
Yeah,
they're just gonna bring all the characters together as a team, and it's gonna be so shit.
They're gonna have an in-universe post-show wrap-up where they're doing a Comic-Con panel.
I don't want him being like, we have to get the team together, and then he goes to every single character he's met this season to go and help get the kid. I know a lot of people would like that, like a Marvel get together, but like I that sounds so safe and so bland. No, the less people in that final fight, the higher the risk and the more intense it's going to be.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to start getting more towards the Mandalorian associations. So like Boba makes sense for that. Maybe even Bo-Katan, because Bo-Katan is actively hunting Gideon. So whether that pays off this season or the next, it's got to pay off somewhere, because they're not going to establish her main plot as being, oh, I'm after Bo-Katan because he has my fucking sword, and Din is also after Bo-Katan or after Gideon because he has my fucking child. And then
in handcuffs, unsurprisingly.
Yeah.
Of course, the Empire has child-sized handcuffs as well.
Ooh, what if the Jedi who answers the call is Qui-Gon, and he gives the speech from Taken to Gideon?
Fuck up.
I will find you and I will save the child.
Yeah, guys. I mean, I know you don't interact with the chat much, but I'm seeing a lot of support for like the whole team get together for like the final 2 episodes.
Who does that include though? Is that like
Boba,
Boba, Fennec,
the Frog
Grief?
Woman? Bo-Katan.
Okay, never mind. I'm in. I wasn't in, but I'd do anything to see that frog lady again. I loved her so much.
The frog lady, Bo-Katan, and her posse. It will be Boba Fett. It'll be Fennec. It'll be Cobb and
Grief and Kara.
Yeah, they're gonna be all together, and it's the frog.
The statue of IG-11.
What about the thick Mando from season 1? I mean,
I think we saw the thick Mando in this episode with Boba wearing that armor. It's not covering much.
He wasn't actually fat, I don't think. I think he just had his robes on underneath, which was kind of weird.
But it was still like if you look at the picture of Cobb wearing the armor and then you look at Boba wearing the armor, there's a bit like Cobb is a svelte man and Boba is not.
I can just imagine there being a scene when they're like, we need to get to the generator, but there's just, it's so deep underwater, and the frogman's like, I'm here to do it, and
say no more.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a Saturday morning cartoon. Like, I just really don't want that. Like, I know it sounds cool getting them all together, but there'll be scenes perfectly fitted for every single character, and it'll be so safe, so boring, just to get all the characters involved. No.
Yeah, and especially when we know we're gonna have Bill Burr there as well, so he's part of the crew.
And then the male frog will die as a sacrifice, and you'll be like,
nah, don't do that. Then, I don't want to hear that.
And then like Justin's 2 minutes later, you'll forget, you'll blink, and then be like, just forgot he even existed.
Never.
Like most people in your life. Okay, so no.
All right, Charlie, you're not invited anymore. I don't like this negative energy you're bringing. We've moved past talking about the Mandalorian here, and are bringing up some other stuff, I think.
So I think there's one more thing we should probably talk about before we end, and that is the fact that Jango and by extension kind of Boba have been reestablished as Mandalorians,
and Jester Muriel is actually mentioned as well in his thing, his little codex.
Yeah, so we do establish that Jango has fought in the Mandalorian Wars, because it was, for the last few years, it's been basically because that scene with the president in the Clone Wars saying like, no, they're not Mandalorians, but that kind of just fits in the fact that there was a civil war and they fought on opposite sides. So Jango's a foundling, passed down the Boba to armor.
So which side did? Surely Jango wasn't on Satine's side. Like, would he have been on Death Watch?
Jango?
Or like the traditional? Yeah. Would he have been like one of the traditional?
Jango was one of the Death Watch ones.
Yeah. Okay. I can't remember, but I assume he would have been.
Like, there's the peaceful people, and then there's the blow people up people. And which do you think Jango is?
Yeah. Exactly. Okay.
And I feel like Boba is outside of the culture. He just kind of got the armor and was never really part of Mandalorian culture, but he just gets to keep it by extension. But do we think that the Mandalorian is going to be dueling Gideon with the Beskar staff?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And then maybe a slight tease of Thrawn just at the end before season 3
with his own Beskar staff.
I got a little bit of a Beskar staff when he said Thrawn's name.
Well, does Thrawn show up in the form of like a holo with Lars Mikkelsen playing him or something? I'd be down with that.
I don't think Lars is going to play him, even though he should. I don't feel like that's the route they're going to take. I think, yeah. And I do think Lars is a bit too squirrely looking as well.
Well,
that's going to do it for this episode.
What? How did you guys feel about the when he said, "I'm a simple man making his way through the galaxy, like my father before me"? Did you like that?
Bit of an eye roll moment.
Yeah, that was. I heard my dad say this in the living room once.
Can you imagine? Like, that's just one day in the kid's life. Like, that's like me being like quoting something my dad randomly said when we were out to get like fucking tomatoes at the grocery store. It's like, now this is a rainy day. Just like
this is pod racing.
Looking around, it's like, the fuck are you on about?
Yeah, going into Home Depot and he breathes in deep and he's like, get a load of that sense.
all of the lines Boba has are just like Django's lines repurposed? Possibly.
People
Are you a
on
Mandalorian?
Reddit,
Possibly.
I didn't mind it.
People on Reddit loved it. They lapped up. They were bouncing off the walls. Like,
it was fine. Like, I'm too old to be.
It's a lot like when people just want Charlie on
mean about
streams to yell, "I'm not mad," but yeah, it doesn't annoy me. I'm fine with or without it. But like, I kind of feel bad for Boba, where it's going to be like, "Say the thing, he said it." Poor guy, he's been through enough.
Yeah.
But we have Birio in 4 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to abruptly end this stream and this podcast.
Is there anything else you want to? We've been late for Birio before, and Charlie can just start the stream starting soon on his side there if we need to. But is there any
I also
other
think
thing?
that pretty much covered everything that I wanted to talk about.
Well, Baby Yoda scene is one thing that we might want to cover.
So
yeah.
Which one? Who's that now?
The Baby Yoda.
Force choking everyone ambiguously.
Yeah. I can put the stream starting soon while we talk about this, so we've got time.
Hey, talk about it.
Yeah, well, what do you want to say, Charlie? What do you want to say?
That's a really good question. Corey, what do you think about it?
Well, I thought we've already kind of talked about how he's kind of sliding to the dark side there. Whether or not it was a force choke situation, we're still not 100% solid on. I don't think any of us are fully on. Like, I think we're all leaning in that direction.
But I want to hear the whoosh.
Yeah. But we've already seen the bridge on the Architect, which I thought was cool. But yeah, he's in that hallway a lot.
I seriously, I wasn't surprised because they were really hinting about this from the beginning of season 2 all the way up to this point about, the kids seen worse, him having to witness what Din is doing, like violent wise, and then the foreboding Anakin statement from Ahsoka. It was all leading up to this point of he could potentially lean to the dark side because of his emotional connections to a father-like figure. Like, it's all very like it's got all of those essence of Star Wars to it, really. So that'll be a topic of tension, possibly, maybe through season 3, that maybe Thrawn can possibly take advantage of. Who knows?
Yeah, the other alternative is that Baby Yoda dies in the next 2 episodes, and that's it.
Fingers crossed. Just kidding.
Can only hope.
That would be sucky.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like that. But I think that's it. That's everything that I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
You guys both good or what?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, Charlie, thanks for joining in for another podcast episode, despite the fact that I think I would say pretty uniformly nobody wanted you. I'm just joking, Charlie.
No, we're not even sure how you got in this voice channel, to be honest.
Yeah, I meant to lock it down, but whatever. But yeah, thanks for joining, Charlie. We appreciate your takes, especially as
dislikes previous.
No, but everyone, round of applause for Charlie. Charlie's been a great guest these last few episodes. We'll probably have him on for some more Mando talk.
Let us know.
But
you guys decide his fate.
But I do want to say we haven't answered emails in a while. When we get back probably to our next book episode or the next episode with just me and Justin, we'll probably do that. I don't want to make Charlie sit through all your boring email. No, through talking about like the older books and stuff that we haven't really had it, because we might even do like an episode.
Of the fact that he can't read. So,
well, I wanted to float an idea past you here, Justin, of doing an episode just to catch up on viewer questions. So doing the mailbag and then taking more from chat. While we're still kind of transitioning back into our fully armed and operational podcast.
Sounds epic.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for joining Charlie. And remember, may the Force be way. It's like a milk byproduct. Milky Way.
Okay, goodbye, everybody.